once seemed dismissive, distant, or almost too controlled to let you know what was going on has crossed into a completely different emotional place. Now, this person is not only softened, they are completely love-struck. So let us begin where the energy opens, and the first card coming through is the Lovers. And wow, this is very strong immediately because this card is telling me that what changed here was not something small. This was a deep inner recognition where they stopped seeing you as just someone significant and started seeing you as someone their heart could no longer reduce. The Lovers is recognition, emotional truth, and the kind of connection that gets under the surface and starts rearranging the way someone understands love itself. So for many of you, this person may have tried very hard in the beginning to act detached, unaffected, or too busy to lean into what was happening. But that distance did not stop the bond from growing. For some of you, they may have thought they were protecting themselves by acting casual. Maybe they told themselves they would keep it light, keep it under control, not get carried away, not let the connection matter too much. But this card says the exact opposite happened. The more they tried to stay above it, the more the bond moved underneath them and changed the emotional ground they were standing on. I also feel this person may have underestimated you at first, not in a cruel way necessarily, but in the sense that they did not realize how deeply your energy would enter them. They may have assumed you were simply attractive, simply magnetic, simply someone interesting, but the Lover says they eventually had to admit that what they were feeling was not surface level at all. It was something much more personal, much more intimate, and much more soul deep than they planned for. For many of you, the shift from holding back to now feeling overwhelmed by love happened because they could not stop comparing what they felt with you to what they felt in other places, and nothing else felt the same. Nothing else had the same emotional gravity. Nothing else stayed on their mind the same way. Nothing else touched their imagination, their body, their heart, and their private hopes all at once. And that contrast made your importance unmistakable. The Lovers can also show that once someone sees the truth of a bond clearly, they cannot return to the old emotional story. And I feel that is exactly what has happened. The version of this person who could act cool, aloof, dismissive, or half invested is fading, because that version was built on not fully facing what was happening. And now they have faced it, now they have felt it, now they know. For some of you, they may be replaying past behavior with a kind of disbelief, almost like, how did I act like that when this person means this much to me? Now, how did I stay so guarded when the feeling had already started growing? And I feel there is humility in that, because once the heart catches up, people often see very clearly where they were trying to outrun something beautiful simply because it made them vulnerable. I also feel there is a lot of longing attached to this card in the current moment, because once love is recognized, distance starts hurting differently. What once felt manageable begins to feel empty. What once felt safe begins to feel unsatisfying. And I feel that this person is now in that stage where the absence of your warmth, your voice, your attention, or your openness is affecting them much more than they expected it ever would. For many of you, Spirit wants to confirm that the emotional turn has already happened. This is not a maybe someday card. This is not a perhaps later card. This is a card that says the bond has already become meaningful enough to live very actively in their heart, whether or not they have found the right way to show it yet. So yes, the shift is real. Yes, the old distance was not the final truth. And yes, this person's feelings have moved into something so deep that they can no longer honestly treat you like someone ordinary. Okay, let us keep moving, because now I want to see what actually brought them to this emotional turning point, because the next card is going to show how this person went from keeping you at arm's length or acting like they could into this much more tender, much more emotionally surrendered place they are in now. And I feel that part matters a lot because it explains why the change has been so dramatic inside them. All right, let us go deeper into how this changed inside them, because I feel like there was a very particular emotional process that turned distance into devotion. The next card coming through is the Hanged Man. And wow, this tells me the change happened through pause, reflection, and being forced to sit still long enough to actually feel what they had been trying not to feel. The Hanged Man is surrender, altered perspective, emotional suspension, and the strange kind of clarity that only comes when someone can no longer run in the old direction and has to stop long enough for the truth to find them. For many of you, this person may have needed space before they could understand your value properly. Not because space created the love, but because space revealed the love that was already there. Once they were left with their own mind, their own body, their own memories, and their own emotional reactions without the distraction of performance, excuses, or avoidance. They had to face how consistently you stayed with them. I feel like they began to notice that they were still thinking of you when they should have been over it, still missing you when they told themselves to move on, still feeling your absence in quiet moments in a way that made them question everything they had previously told themselves. And that is very much the Hanged Man, because it is the card of being forced into a new angle of truth, one that you cannot dismiss once you have seen it. For some of you, this person had a very painful realization that what they thought they could ignore was actually one of the most emotionally alive things in their inner world. And that realization did not come instantly. It came in layers, through memory, through longing, through private comparison, through noticing that other people did not affect them the way you did, and through the growing discomfort of pretending not to care when caring had already become obvious. The Hanged Man also tells me they may have felt powerless during this change, almost like the heart was leading and the mind had to catch up later. They may have tried to stay practical, tried to stay proud, tried to stay unavailable, but the emotional truth kept hanging there in front of them, asking to be acknowledged, and eventually it became too visible for them to keep treating as a small thing. For many of you, one of the biggest pieces of this shift was realizing that your energy did not leave them even when your physical presence was less available. That matters. Because when someone is truly moving into love, the connection keeps working on them in absence. And I feel that is exactly what happened here. They could not shake you, could not flatten the feeling, could not make the importance of you disappear by simply waiting. I also feel this card carries humility, and I like that because it says this person has been changed by the experience of not being in control of what grew inside them. They may have had to admit that they were wrong about the bond, wrong about their own capacity to feel, wrong about how easy it would be to keep you in some lesser category when your energy was clearly doing much more than that inside them. For some of you, there may have been one specific moment where the whole thing crystallized. Maybe they saw something, heard something, felt your distance, felt your healing, or simply reached a breaking point in private where they suddenly knew this is not going away, this is not casual, and this person has become emotionally essential to me in a way I did not plan. The Hanged Man can also show someone not yet fully acting, but no longer in denial. And that is very important because it means the old stance is gone. The interchange has already happened. Now, the question becomes what they do with it, how they move with it, how they let the outer behavior catch up with what the heart already knows. For many of you, this person has crossed that inner line. They cannot return to the old emotional story anymore. They know too much now, they feel too much now. And once a person reaches that point, the connection begins asking for more honesty, more humility, and eventually more expression too. So Spirit is showing you that the transformation came through stillness, contrast, longing, and the emotional education of having to sit with what your absence showed them. Okay, let us keep moving because now I want to see what their heart looks like in the present moment. Because the next card is going to show the emotional state they are in now that the love has fully landed inside them. And I feel that is where the intensity becomes even more obvious. Okay, let us move into the present emotional state now, because I feel like once the realization happened, the feeling itself became much harder for them to carry calmly. The next card coming through is the Ace of Cups. And wow, this is beautiful because this tells me their heart is no longer confused about whether it cares. The heart is open, full, and very much alive where you are concerned. The Ace of Cups is tenderness, overflow, emotional sincerity, and the kind of love that starts pouring into the person's daily life, whether they meant for it to or not. It changes their mood, changes their thoughts, changes what they crave, and changes what feels meaningful. For many of you, this person is softer inside than they would ever easily admit. They may look intense on the outside, but the deeper truth is that your energy has brought out a very vulnerable, very affectionate, very emotionally exposed part of them. And I feel like that softness is one reason the love now feels almost overwhelming, because they are not used to feeling this unguarded. I also feel that this card says they are no longer only fascinated by you, they care about your well being. They care whether you are okay, whether you are hurting, whether you are loved, whether you are still reachable. And that is a big difference because desire can be selfish, but this kind of emotional opening has generosity in it. It has care in it. It has the wish to bring something good to you, not only take something from you. For some of you, this person may have had private moments where they simply sat with how much warmth they feel for you and felt shocked by their own tenderness. They may have caught themselves smiling at the thought of you, feeling emotional because of you, or wanting to protect something in you, even when they were not sure what, right? They had to feel that way. And all of that belongs to this Ace of Cups energy, because the cup is full and the feeling is no longer minor. The Ace of Cups can also show emotional renewal. So I would not be surprised if this connection has made them feel alive again in places that had gone numb, disappointed, cautious, or just too used to functioning without much depth. There is something about you that has awakened real feeling, and once that happens, the person often starts seeing the whole relationship differently. For many of you, this is why their previous behavior and their current inner state feel so different. Before, they may have been reacting from fear, timing, self-protection, or emotional immaturity, but now they are feeling from the heart, and the heart is not interested in pretending this is small. The heart keeps saying, this matters, this person matters, and I do not want to lose the chance to honor that. I also feel that this person may be yearning for emotional closeness with you in a much more conscious way now. Not only attention, not only chemistry, but closeness, honesty, sweetness. The chance to actually feel connected instead of only privately attached. And that yearning adds another layer to the intensity because it means the love wants movement, not only internal acknowledgement. For some of you, they are also beginning to feel how painful it is to know the love is real while the outer situation still does not fully reflect it. And that is one reason this energy can feel so raw, because once the heart opens this far, anything unresolved starts hurting more. Silence hurts more, distance hurts more, uncertainty hurts more, and I feel that is exactly where they are now. This card also tells me their feelings are sincere enough that they cannot simply switch them off. This is not one of those situations where a person can just distract themselves and be fine. The cup remains full, the tenderness remains, the emotional return to you remains, and with each pass through the feeling, it deepens rather than fading. So, Spirit is making the present moment very clear. This person's heart is open, this person's love is real, and this person's emotional attachment to you has reached a point where it is shaping the way they feel, think, and miss. Okay, let us keep moving, because now I want to see what this intensity is doing to them mentally. Because when the heart opens this much after a period of resistance, the next card often shows the pressure, the restlessness, and the private emotional strain that comes with loving deeply and not yet fully knowing what to do with it. All right, let us look at what this love is doing to them mentally now, because I feel like the heart is open, but the mind is not exactly resting peacefully with that truth. The next card coming through is the Nine of Swords. And wow, this says the emotional shift has not only made them tender, it has made them restless. They are thinking at night, replaying moments, wondering what you feel, questioning what they should do, and feeling the pressure of everything that was once kept down now rising up without much mercy. The Nine of Swords is overthinking, midnight emotion, spiraling thought, and the kind of inner noise that takes over once the world gets quiet enough for the heart to be fully heard. So for many of you, this person may look composed in the daytime, but when they are alone, when things slow down, or when they are trying to sleep, your energy arrives again with weight, with longing, and with all the words they have not yet said. I feel like they are replaying how they handled things before, how they pulled back, how they hid, how they underestimated the bond. And that replay carries regret, Not always dramatic regret, but enough that it keeps bothering them. Enough that they imagine different choices, different timing, different conversations, and wonder whether things would feel less impossible now if they had trusted the connection sooner. For some of you, they are also anxious because they know your energy is not standing still forever. They can feel that you are moving through your own healing, your own shifts, your own growth, and that awareness can make the love feel even more urgent because suddenly the question is not only what do I feel, but what happens if I wait too long and lose the chance to show it. The Nine of Swords can also show shame around how affected somebody has become. This person may not like how much power the connection has over their emotional state. They may not like how often your name, your face, your energy, or the memory of your warmth comes back in. And because they are not fully comfortable with that level of emotional exposure, the mind starts fighting the heart instead of helping it. For many of you, they may have had almost message moments late at night. Typed something, erased it, stared at the screen, backed away, tried to sleep, failed to sleep, and came right back to the same emotional loop. Because the heart wants relief, but the mind keeps trying to keep them safe from the vulnerability of actually opening the door. I also feel that this person is not only losing sleep because they miss you, they are losing sleep because they know something must eventually change. They know this cannot stay only internal forever. They know the current emotional pressure is unsustainable, and they know that the longer they keep all of this locked inside while pretending otherwise, the heavier the whole thing becomes. For some of you, this card also says they are afraid of hearing something they do not want to hear. Maybe they fear that your heart is colder than theirs now. Maybe they fear that you have become unavailable in ways they cannot undo. Maybe they fear that the version of you they kept alive in memory is no longer waiting where they left it. And those fears can make the mind go into very dark, very repetitive places. The Nine of Swords does not show a weak feeling. It shows a feeling so strong that it starts wearing down the mental defenses around it. That is why I keep saying this love is not passive anymore. It is affecting the way they sleep, the way they imagine, the way they carry the day after a quiet night, and the way they feel every little sign of distance or possibility where you are concerned. For many of you, this person has reached the point where even the old strategies do not comfort them anymore. Distraction does not work for long. Pride does not soothe them. Pretending it is manageable does not help because the heart has already crossed a line and the mind is now dealing with the consequences of a truth that became too real to keep contained. So Spirit is showing that the emotional intensity is now touching the nervous system, touching the private hours, touching the places where people can no longer fake composure. Okay, let us keep moving because now I want to see what all of this is pushing them toward because the next card is going to show whether the pressure turns into movement, expression, or some kind of opening that changes the way this connection has been sitting in the dark. Okay, let us look at what all this emotional pressure is beginning to create because I do not feel the sleeplessness is just there to torment them forever. The next card coming through is the Knight of Cups. And wow, this is the heart beginning to move. This is someone wanting to bridge the gap, wanting to soften the distance, wanting to stop carrying all this feeling in silence and actually bring some part of it towards you in a real way. The Knight of Cups is romantic movement, emotional approach, tenderness, and action, and the willingness to let the truth start traveling outward instead of staying trapped inside private thought. For many of you, this person is getting very close to reaching out or softening towards you in a way that feels unmistakably personal. It may not begin as the biggest confession in the world, it may begin gently, but the point is the same. The heart is no longer content to stay shut away while the mind burns through the night replaying everything over and over. I feel like this person may start with something that feels manageable to them. A message, a sweet opening, a check-in, a small emotional bridge, something that lets contact happen without demanding that every ounce of their inner intensity be revealed all at once. But even if the outer move begins small, the feeling behind it is not small at all. For some of you, this person may want to come in with warmth first before they expose the full depth. That makes sense to me because once someone has spent so long feeling quietly and so intensely, they often need to feel the tone of the connection before they pour out everything they have been holding. But Spirit keeps saying the movement is real and it is coming from a genuine wish for closeness, not from impulse alone. The Knight of Cups also carries emotional courage in a very human way. Not loud courage, not fearless courage, but the kind where a person is still nervous and still chooses to move anyway because the feeling has become too meaningful not to act on at all. And I feel that is where this person is arriving now. For many of you, what they reveal may not be everything in the very first moment, but it will change the atmosphere. Because once the person who has been loving in silence begins to let that tenderness breathe through action, the energy between you shifts. The old distance changes. The old confusion begins cracking. And suddenly, what had only been living in the dark has somewhere to land. I also feel there is longing for sweetness here. They do not only want to say something dramatic, they want warmth, they want a response, they want to know whether the bridge can still hold weight, whether your heart still has softness in it for them, whether what has been so alive on their side can become shared space instead of private ache. For some of you, they may also carry a little apology in the approach. Not always in direct words at first, but in tone, in care, in the way they tread more softly than before, because I feel they know they have taken a long time internally, and now they want the movement to feel sincere, not careless. The Knight of Cups is important because it says the feeling has become relational. Not only something they endure alone, but something that wants meeting, answering, and living exchange. And that is a huge shift after all the previous cards, because it means the person is no longer only drowning in thought. They are starting to imagine and choose the path of contact. For many of you, the Knights have done their work. The thinking has done its work, the regret has done its work, the realization has done its work, and now the heart is finally stepping into motion because it understands that carrying love silently forever does not create relief. It only deepens the ache. So, Spirit is showing the turning point very clearly. The emotional pressure is becoming movement, the longing is becoming approach, and the truth is moving closer to being shared. Okay, let us keep moving because now I want to see the final card, the deeper conclusion. What all of this is ultimately trying to reveal about where the connection stands now and what the real meaning is behind this whole journey from distance into complete emotional surrender. All right, let us bring this all together now because I want to see the deeper meaning behind the whole shift from distance to devotion. The final card coming through is Judgment. And wow, this is the perfect ending because Judgment is awakening, emotional reckoning, truth rising, and the moment someone finally stops pretending, they can live comfortably outside of what their own heart has already decided. This card tells me the love is not only strong, it has become undeniable to them. And once a person reaches that point, the old behavior cannot keep functioning the same way because the truth has become louder than the defense. For many of you, this person has had a genuine inner awakening around you. Not only about how much they want you, but about how much they misjudged the connection before, how much they underestimated their own feelings, and how impossible it has become to continue acting like this is something small, easy, or replaceable. Judgment can also bring accountability, and I feel that strongly here. This person is beginning to see the cost of their own old distance, the cost of acting too cool, the cost of silence, the cost of letting the connection drift into uncertainty while their heart was actually becoming more attached than ever. And that kind of realization can change a person profoundly. For some of you, this card absolutely carries confession energy. Not necessarily in one giant speech all at once, but in the sense that the truth is now pressing toward visibility. The old version of them that could avoid, minimize, or hide is losing power. And the newer version, the one that knows what you mean, is getting stronger with each emotional wave that passes through them. I also feel like this card says there is no comfortable way back into indifference for them. That chapter is done. They know too much now. They feel too much now. And even if they tried to retreat into the old self-protection, it would not bring peace because the heart has already crossed into recognition, and recognition changes the whole inner landscape permanently. For many of you, this is why the emotional shift has felt so dramatic. They are not only more attracted, they are more awake, more aware, more internally honest. And once someone becomes that awake to a connection, they start seeing everything differently. Your past interactions, their current longing, and the possible future all begin carrying much more emotional meaning than before. Judgment can also bring second chance energy, and I do feel that around some of you, not always in the sense that everything instantly resets, but in the sense that there is now a chance for truth to enter where denial once stood, a chance for the real feeling to be named, a chance for the old distance to be challenged by new honesty. For some of you, this person has been shocked by the force of their own transformation. They may look back and think, I really thought I could stay distant. I really thought I could be fine. I really thought I would move on from this with less feeling than this. And instead, they find themselves deeply attached, deeply awake, and emotionally much more surrendered than they ever expected to become. I feel Spirit wants you to know that this is not imagined, and it is not halfway. The shift is real. The adoration is real. The emotional surrender is real. And this person is not in the same place they were before. They have been changed by the bond, changed by the distance, changed by what they felt in your absence, and changed by the recognition that their heart chose more deeply than they let themselves know at first. For many of you, what comes next will be shaped by whether they can live up to their awakening, because feeling deeply is one thing, acting from that depth is another. But the important thing is that judgment says the old pattern has broken inside them. And once an inner pattern breaks, the outer story eventually has to start changing too. So the overall message here is yes, this person moved from holding back to being completely overtaken by love for you. Yes, the emotional contrast is huge. Yes, the old distance was not the final truth, and yes, what you are dealing with now is someone whose heart has fully recognized your significance and can no longer return to pretending otherwise. And I feel Spirit wants you to leave this reading knowing your intuition has likely felt that shift already. The energy changed because they changed, the longing changed because the truth became clearer. And what once looked like indifference has now become a kind of devotion they are finding harder and harder to contain in silence. So stay grounded, stay clear, and let the truth reveal itself through action. Because judgment closes the reading by saying, the love is awake now. The old distance is broken now. The final card coming through is Judgment. And wow, this is the perfect ending because Judgment is awakening, emotional reckoning, truth rising, and the moment someone finally stops pretending, they can live comfortably outside of what their own heart has already decided. This card tells me the love is not only strong, it has become undeniable to them. And once a person reaches that point, the old behavior cannot keep functioning the same way because the truth has become louder than the defense. For many of you, this person has had a genuine inner awakening around you. Not only about how much they want you, but about how much they misjudged the connection before, how much they underestimated their own feelings, and how impossible it has become to continue acting like this is something small, easy, or replaceable. Judgment can also bring accountability, and I feel that strongly here. This person is beginning to see the cost of their own old distance, the cost of acting too cool, the cost of silence, the cost of letting the connection drift into uncertainty while their heart was actually becoming more attached than ever. And that kind of realization can change a person profoundly. For some of you, this card absolutely carries confession energy. Not necessarily in one giant speech all at once, but in the sense that the truth is now pressing toward visibility. The old version of them that could avoid, minimize, or hide is losing power. And the newer version, the one that knows what you mean, is getting stronger with each emotional wave that passes through them. I also feel like this card says there is no comfortable way back into indifference for them. That chapter is done. They know too much now. They feel too much now. And even if they tried to retreat into the old self-protection, it would not bring peace because the heart has already crossed into recognition, and recognition changes the whole inner landscape permanently. For many of you, this is why the emotional shift has felt so dramatic. They are not only more attracted, they are more awake, more aware, more internally honest. And once someone becomes that awake to a connection, they start seeing everything differently. Your past interactions, their current longing, and the possible future all begin carrying much more emotional meaning than before. Judgment can also bring second chance energy, and I do feel that around some of you, not always in the sense that everything instantly resets, but in the sense that there is now a chance for truth to enter where denial once stood, a chance for the real feeling to be named, a chance for the old distance to be challenged by new honesty. For some of you, this person has been shocked by the force of their own transformation. They may look back and think, I really thought I could stay distant. I really thought I could be fine. I really thought I would move on from this with less feeling than this. And instead, they find themselves deeply attached, deeply awake, and emotionally much more surrendered than they ever expected to become. I feel Spirit wants you to know that this is not imagined and it is not halfway. The shift is real. The adoration is real. The emotional surrender is real. And this person is not in the same place they were before. They have been changed by the bond, changed by the distance, changed by what they felt in your absence, and changed by the recognition that their heart chose more deeply than they let themselves know at first. For many of you, what comes next will be shaped by whether they can live up to their awakening